And I'm guessing that he goes right to your first line, Scheim.
100%.
And he plays there with Pavel, Zacha, and with Pasta. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, which is exactly what you need. You needed to kick Zacha back out to wing and get him off the center dot because he was a disaster, an absolute nightmare in the playoffs at the dot.
I have a question for Scheim related to pasta.
Oh, okay.
Do you like your noodles uncooked?
Nope.
They have a great crisp?
Nope, those would be crunchy, not a crisp. Crisp is something when you cook it.
If you prefer when you're having noodles, Scheim, if you like meatballs with them and you want them uncooked, you should have Curtis's.
Well, actually, we're overcooked.
Over, under, same thing.
I'd rather have undercooked meatballs than overcooked meatballs.
Yeah, they were awful.
Good point. I would agree with you on that. I absolutely would.
Do you still need a second line centerman? I know Scheim had talked about Adam.
No, I think you more. Scheim was. Weren't you talking more in your lead about a wing to add to that second line, like a right wing?
I think that's exactly what you need right now is another right wing depth behind Pasta, because right now I think by getting Lindholm, you kick Coyle. Coyle stays at the second line center. You get Patra back too. People forget he's going to be another year older, another year more experienced. He'll come back healthy, probably be able to slide into your third line there. So you have pretty good center depth as of now. Guys can also fill in like Zacha. Frederick can fill in at the center spot. So you need that right wing depth though behind Pasternak, which you don't really have right now. Like your second line right wing is probably at the moment Morgan Geeky, which I don't love. I would rather him be on the third line.
Kick him down. The problem is that you don't have. If you get your Swayman deal done for $7.5 or $8 million, then I think you only end up with $1.5 million or maybe $2 million if you're lucky when it comes to cap space. So
which is why I feel like there would be a trade somewhere here where it's like you send Korpisalo and a young guy from Providence somewhere just to free up some cap space, and then you can either sign a right wing or in that trade with Korpisalo get a right wing back.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, we talked about it earlier, maybe being a reaction to the success that the Celtics have had, and you were hoping that the Bruins were not happy with their exit from the playoffs this season and that they would go and do something, and they did. So, and I think you really have to give it to Don Sweeney. Like, I mean, he's done last year when it came to the deadline. He was willing to go out and get guys and spend, and he seems to be willing to do that in this case as well. So
he kind of dropped the ball last year at the trade deadline, and
why?
I know
why because
of the Linus thing.
He couldn't get rid of him.
He butchered the Linus thing.
But he tried to deal him. Linus nixed it. Like,
right. That's why you don't do it at the deadline. That's why you do it in the offseason.
But, like, he couldn't do it last offseason. He didn't know what Jeremy Swayman was going to turn into. Nobody knew that Jeremy Swayman was going to be this good last offseason.
He's paid to know that.
Plus, you had the silly rotation thing going, and you were dealing with that you thought that was going to be the key to success, or had been your key to success, at least in the regular season.
Linus Ullmark was coming off winning the Vezina.
Same reason Wick's selling now.
Yeah, but you had no idea Swayman was going to take this leap, Curtis. Nobody was prepared for Swayman to take a leap like this. Everybody expected Linus to probably be the starting goaltender going forward because he had just won the Vezina and was freaking awesome during that regular season. Unfortunately, that's not how it turned out. He tried to deal Linus at the deadline, was unable to because Linus nixed it, and so he unfortunately had to do it here. So, yeah, was it unfortunate? Yes, but like, it's more so a tale on why you shouldn't give guys no trade clauses than it is on mistake on Don Sweeney handling of Linus Ullmark.
Who constructed that contract that Linus was playing under?
Yes, I'm aware of that, but that was 3 years ago now that he gave the contract, and now it's biting you in the ass. Like those things happen, Curtis. Those are things you can't foresee.
But you can't give him an out for something he gave the player.
Yeah, I can give him an out because at the time of giving the contract, sometimes you have to give they gave one to Charlie Coyle too, which I think was a bad mistake, but you had to do it at the time to secure the player was here, and you unfortunately can't have the foresight to know how things are going to play out 2 or 3 years down the road.
You know Swayman was pretty good going all the way back to Cassidy's last year?
Yeah, you knew he was pretty good, but you didn't know he was going to make this type of jump, Wiggy. Like, he made a massive leap from 2 years ago to last year.
Yeah, but if you look at where they were statistically and the games that they played, they both played that year. Remember then people were trying to get Tuukka to come back?
Yes.
They both,
you're talking about his rookie year, Swayman?
yeah. So
But he only played. Well, how many games did he play his rookie year? 30.
No, he played in 41 games. They
Okay.
both played in 41 games, both Swayman and Linus. So you kind of knew and this was Cassidy's last year, right? So you kind of knew what type of goalies
Well, you knew what you hoped he would be, but you had Scheim is right. You had a guy that you traded for that you were paying $5+ million a year that ended up being the Vezina winner. So
And the
you were
clear
gonna
best goalie in hockey.
Right, but the writing was showing like this young kid was pretty good. And I agree with Curtis. Like, when you go, all right, we're giving him a new deal, you go, no, we're not giving you a no trade clause because we got a young kid.
Yeah, but Wiggy, they gave him the no trade clause before they knew what Swayman was. They gave him the no trade clause when they signed him from Buffalo, which was before that season that he played with Swayman.
All right, so they gave him a no trade clause before they
They had to get him out of free agency because they didn't have a plan post.
Yeah, that's definitely
so they
on
brought
Sweeney.
him in and they gave him the no trade. But you can say it's on Sweeney, but the kid Linus Ullmark won the Vezina 2 years after they signed the contract as the best goalie in hockey. He won 40 games.
Right, but you saying when they
At the time,
when
that
they
was a
traded
good
for him
deal.
from Buffalo, you're saying is when they gave him the no trade clause.
When they signed him in free agency from Buffalo, correct?
So, right.
Yes,
So
when they
they
signed him in free
traded
agency because
for-
they didn't have a goalie on the roster. Swayman hadn't played in the NHL yet, so they had no clue what he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They signed him in Linus Ullmark in free agency and gave him the no trade clause. And
So is that a good move to give a guy a no trade clause when you don't even know what he's going to be for you?
yeah, because they had to get the goalie, Wiggy. And then in 2022, when he wins the Vezina, it looks like the best deal in the world because you have a Vezina winning goaltender making $5 million a year.
Yeah, I kind of tend to look at it like that was the biggest mistake that you made. And I know we talked to Milbury about it. When you do the no trade clauses, those could be very, very sticky. Where it was a no trade, but he only had specific teams that he potentially would go to.
But he said that a lot of players have that. Like Linus, when talking to media, was like, everybody who wants to talk about a no trade clause. A lot of players
guys have
it.
that?
Every
Yeah.
player.
I mean,
gets
listen.
it.
If you want to argue about mistakes, do you feel like now in hindsight, taking Jake DeBrusk with that 14th pick was a mistake?
I mean, sure, in hindsight, you can say a lot of draft picks are
Well,
mistakes
that's what we
all
do
the
with
time,
Bill
but-
Belichick,
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we might as well do it with Don Sweeney.
Yeah, if you're going to take that approach, then you would be like, yeah, it might have been a mistake. Especially if you're going to go the Bill Belichick route. It was who was available at that pick that's playing well now that you could have potentially had.
And we do have, Greg is right, we do have a different sort of standard when it comes to the general manager of the Bruins than we do for the Red Sox, Patriots, or even Celtics. I mean, we all love Don Sweeney. He's done a good job, but, I mean, they haven't won anything with him leading the hockey department. So
Yeah.
they won a lot of regular season games. But yesterday was awesome, Greg. How could you have any issue with it?
Oh, I was ecstatic yesterday on everything other than the Wick story, and so
This is I wouldn't say this is their year, but this is Montgomery's make or break year, I would say, right?
Yeah,
Or do they
he has an extraordinary record the last 2 years here, minus the playoffs. But I think I don't know if he's at make or break or not. But
there were people that were saying if he lost the first
him,
round, they should fire this guy.
Well, yeah, it's not like they're running it back and saying no, you got what you need, and,
Right?
And so there can be no excuses, I would assume.
What if I asked Charlie Jacobs if Montgomery doesn't win the first round series, if he'll lose his job, maybe the Jacobs will sell the team?
I don't think that's why Wick is selling.
Oh, okay.
But yes.